So the glass works as a screen, a filter, and the tin metal works as a transformer. So the light gets through the glass, it's getting transformed from radiant light into heat. The thicker metal, the better, of course, because the paint itself will transform radiance into heat, but it won't be able to store the heat. And without a buffer for storing the heat, it won't be able to just dissipate the heat quickly enough into the air. So we need something called thermal mass. What you can do is just on the back side of the sheet, you can use other metals, soda cans, for example, metal tubes, just about any metal at all. Just screw it in place on the back side of the tin and use it as a heat sink. As the tin transforms radiance into hot air or into heat, the heat dissipates into the air and into the surrounding metal, further dispersing into the air. And this is what we want. We want to disperse the heat from the metal out to the air as effectively as possible. And then, of course, there's the problem how to make the air pass through the collector or pass nearby the collector in a manner that most effectively picks up the heat. Well, if we are unlucky, all the airflow will just funnel down here. The box itself will get really hot, but the air will remain quite cool because it won't pick up the heat. My solution was, of course, to force the air from this part to this part by going through small holes. It works. Another way is to just use metal pins or whatever else you can, whatever, just anything that will transfer the heat from the tin and out to the air. For example, use soda cans, cut them in half and just screw them in place all over the backside. This will dissipate the air, or dissipate the heat better into the air. The insulation is very important because the outside air, for example, today it's roughly 0 degrees outside, maybe 1 or 2 plus. The inside of the box would be about 40-50 degrees. The tin itself, the collector, would be 70 or 80 degrees, maybe more, possibly more. We want the heat to stay inside the box. The insulation is a very important part of this because, first of all, it's a mean of air tightening the box, but it's also preventing the heat from dissipating through the walls. So the insulation is an important part. You can use whatever material you want on the outside, aluminum sheets, wood, treated wood, plastic, whatever, as long as the insulation is properly sealed. The glass, any glass will work as an insulator, but the thicker the better, and thermal glass, of course, is the best. If you have like for example the sliding glass doors from for example, glassed Porsche or something like that, those kind of doors that has just huge glass window, that kind of glass is perfect for this. The only problem is that tempered glass can't be cut by, well, normal means. if you try to scratch a tempered glass, it would explode. That's the only problem with tempered glass. If you have a huge piece of tempered glass, you would either need to go to a workshop for glass to have it cut, or build the collector around the piece of glass. That's what I did in my case. I'm not experienced in cutting glass. This is just ordinary glass. It can be cut. It's not easy, but it can be cut. So what I did, the dimension of my collector, my entire collector, is based upon the width of the glass, and I just cut the length to properly fit. I'll show that in a future video once I find my camera. So basically, it's a box with insulation, a glass sheet. It would work as a filter to let light through, but keep the heat inside. The collector, which is metal painted flat black, that will transform light into heat, and lots of space for the air to move through. The way you can do however you wish to just move the air in and out. I've chosen a kind of ventilation duct, which is 55 times 110, and it actually works quite well. I'm using a 1 watt fan. It's just a 5 volt, just a very small kind of fan, the type you could find on a graphic card or inside computers. I'm using that to push air through until I actually just can get the funds to buy something bigger. I'm looking at a 14 watt fan, 230 volts, and that will permanently replace whatever fan I'm using. I'm guessing whatever size of collector I'm going to use in the future, 14 watts would do the job. What I've done in my build is I've bought a snap disc, a thermal controller. At 35 degrees it will short a circuit and open up the flow for current. It's placed on the very end of the collector where the air comes in. That means as long as the collector itself stays well above 35 degrees, the current will keep flowing and will keep the fan open. The fan will keep blowing. If it drops below 25 degrees, it will open the circuit and the fan will stop. This solution prevents if it suddenly gets overcast and it gets really cold. The box itself maybe gets 5 degrees and I have 10 degrees. It won't keep pumping cold air into the room. It's a guarantee that the only time I will push air through the collector is when the collector itself is warm enough. The proper way to do this, of course, is to put the snap disc somewhere in the shade, because otherwise it would snap on as soon as the sun hits it. 35 degrees in a airtight box, that's very easily achievable. It's just 10 seconds of full sunlight. But if the sun goes into hiding again, it will keep open and push cold air through. And make sure that all the seams, all the joints everywhere is properly sealed, especially around the glass, the insulation, and the connections for where you put the ductings. Also for, well, unless you're going to insulate all the tubes and all the ventilation ducts you're using, I suggest use as short a tube as possible from the output to the room. If you imagine this is the size of my collector, this down here would be where I send out and take in my air. So I have the air going from the room all the way to the other side. It's getting pumped in, go through the collector, and it's gathered down here, going back inside. So I'm using maybe half a meter of ducting for the output, but I'm using, well, about 3 meters for the input, because the input itself is only just cold air. It doesn't matter if it drops like 2 or 3 degrees. But if you would try to pump 50 degrees hot air through 3 meters of pipe outside where it's 2 or 3 degrees, of course you would lose some of the effect. So that's the basic principles of a solar hot air collector, and I'll try to explain more when I find my camera, and I'll be able to just show you how my collector works. I guess it's easier to show you than just a simple drawing. I'll be back with a video of how that works, how it looks, and just how effective it actually is, and how easy it is to build. It's just a, well, this is, it's hard to kind of explain, but I've put perhaps 20-25 euros in this build, and that's basically just on the wood itself. The rest of the material, well, the wood and the insulation, that's about it. The glass and the collector, the sheet, I was given for free. Oh yeah, of course, the ventilation ducts, that, okay, maybe 40 euros. That's about it. Just remember that I live in one of the world's most expensive countries too, so just about any country you're in, it would be significantly cheaper. I'll be back with another video sometime soon, perhaps. I hope so. Thanks for watching.